But sometimes there is that older man that he's up there in society. In Australia, we're having this big revolution in Parliament where they're changing the laws about what it means for sexual harassment and things like that. And people can now actually get fired for saying inappropriate things and doing inappropriate things, which is a big thing because there's been a lot going on there with how young staffers have been getting treated. And do you have any tips for how to deal with people who might be in positions of power and treating women who inappropriately? How do you deal with that?
Am I talking to the people they're treating inappropriately, or to the men in power doing that?
to the girls.
Gotcha. Okay, because I got a thing or two to say to the men in power.
I bet.
Well, I mean, and honestly, it depends on. It's hard because the thing is, I know women get fired for this, or they get blacklisted for just standing up for themselves and putting up boundaries. I will say though, down the road, all women are happier with themselves when they do the hard thing, to put up the boundaries, to say no, to walk out of the room. It's not fair that women have to do that. It's not fair that women have to have the courage to do that. And let alone the courage to do something that is breaking the social norms that they've been socialized into, to be nice girls, to not rock the boat, to go along with things. So, however, I do think, and honestly, if role play with a close friend when they're crossing boundaries and doing things inappropriately. And one of the suggestions I make, which again, none of this is fair because it's so much emotional and mental labor when you should just be doing your job and getting paid. But one thing I say is, as much as you can use humor, if you're in a room, I had a client once and she was a young woman and she was an engineer. So she was surrounded by men and she was in this meeting and one of the older guys said something inappropriate to her in front of everybody. And there's like this awkward silence in the room. And she's like, "Come on, Bob, we all just had that sexual harassment training last week. I think that's not appropriate." And then everybody laughs and then you move on. So by bringing humor, by referencing exactly what's going on and calling it out, but totally doing it in a humor way and then letting it go, that is a very strong boundary. Now, it's not easy to learn those skills, but they can be learned until our society catches up and we start having to deal with all this bullshit.
True that. I'd love to hear what you wanted to say to the men in those positions as well. Maybe in another podcast, hopefully.
Yes, that sounds good.